Well, hello everybody. Happy Friday. And of course, we have Lira Nikolaev with us again. I'm so happy for having you with us again, Lira. And unfortunately, sadly, it's your last show with us for a while. You've got some work commitments that you're seeing in the future, but we will certainly have you on randomly. But before we get into that, I'd just like to again say thank you so much to the sponsor of tonight's show, or this morning for you, who is Spooky2, the creators of these amazing home rife machines. As I always say to you guys, I know my mom has one, and honestly, it's an amazing little gadget, if you will. They come in different strengths, if you will, sizes and strengths, and they've really had miraculous results. And honestly, they're very cool. So if you're interested in maybe looking further into the Spooky2 home rife machine, check out their website. They're on the little banner below. And if you're interested in buying one, you can use my name, Chantelle, as your coupon code, as well as, and then you'll get your 5% discount. Happy zapping. I love it. It's so cool. Makes such a difference so soon. Anyway, hello, Renee. Hello, Robin. Nice to have you guys here, and have all of you guys. And Ellen, thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. And Lyra, yay. Yay, and tears. Yeah. So it's a happy, sad day for us today. How are you, beautiful?
I am well, very well. Thank you for being with me along and helping me along this healing journey. Remembering things and putting them together, well, it did everything for me. I'm a whole person, with God just sharing my heart. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I know that you really, I mean, what's so special about your story as well, and I know you've had a lot of connection with Jesse on the shows with Jesse, because as we know, you were, or maybe everyone doesn't know, but if you guys haven't, I really want to highly recommend you watch our previous interviews with Lira. She is a child soldier.
I'll break it down a little bit, right? So
yeah,
I do encourage people, strongly encourage people to watch Jesse's Stargate, especially part 5, where she's reading the CIA document, where they're explaining the spiritual realms, they're explaining the spiritual basis. There's no time, there's no limit there. It goes this way and that way. And that's where they set up different bases. And when they take, so the Looking Glass, the Star Wars, the Voice of God, all of those are part of the various operations, and everybody in the world taps into them. So when they, like what Revelation 18:13, I think, talks about, the Babylonian system steals people's souls, or they trade people's souls. They have them operate on these different levels. So, and they train you how to go in the spirit, how to manifest yourself in the spirit in those specific locations that they've created for people. And in my case, it was right after Chernobyl. A lot of kids got sick. A lot of us ended up being in the hospital. And for me, it was in Transnistria area. I was there for 2 weeks until my dad kidnapped me because I was sobbing so bad of their abuse.
Hold the phone. Hold the phone. You're talking about things that I'm really intrigued in. Yeah, Chernobyl, by the way. I would like to, I know we're talking about children and, how they use the children in psyops, but I'd be interested to get your take on, was it 2013 that Chernobyl happened? Was it 2013?
No. It was 1988. 88.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, 1986.
Okay.
1986. I was 6 years old.
Right.
Happened in April, and by August, September, I was in the hospital because of great pains in my gut. And
was this after Chernobyl then, in 1986, right?
Yep. And what got me on the show was when, as soon as Jesse mentioned that Reagan, 2 years prior to that, had that show with all the children as weapons, like that, I think in my opinion, I think Russians jumped on that opportunity, created an accident with Chernobyl, knowing darn well that a lot of kids will be affected by it the most. A lot of kids will have to be in the hospital, and that is where they would take their opportunity that they've created to break these children down and train them as whatever they wanted them to be. That's what happened in my case. It was so smart.
So what do you think? What do you think the substance or frequency or whatever it was that they were using in that accident to make the kids sick? How do you think? What was it they were using? How did the kids get sick from what?
Just the radiation, them being young.
Okay. Okay. Radiation. Okay.
Right. One of my cousins, she's younger than me. I'm 43. She's younger than me, and she lost all of her teeth. Majority of my teeth are replaced also, because your teeth just with radiation, they're terrible.
Yeah.
The hair, the thyroid, the immune system shot. A lot of my cousins are just bad. We get to family reunions and we're talking about what are you doing for detox, and we're spending thousands of dollars, some of them, on just trying to keep your body functioning. Another cousin was in the womb when the explosion happened. She was diagnosed with every cancer that they were coming out of. They could not figure out what was wrong with her. Another cousin was born during that time, and he was covered in bruises. I remember looking down into his bassinet, just unbelievable. Baby infant is covered in bruises. Like crazy things were happening.
That is absolutely tragic. That is so tragic.
Yeah, what happened in Japan? I read one story on the news, and I could not find it after that. That people in Japan, after the accident there, they would be fined, pretty hefty fine, if they ever talked about the health side effects after that incident.
So they were never allowed to talk about what they knew. So they were obviously knew what was going on there, and were never allowed to talk about it. And probably, I'm sure there must have been a lot of people that lost their lives knowing too much during that time as well, right? I mean, that's usually the case. Yeah.
Right. So for Chernobyl, also, I've read this, you can read it too. They have hospitals, and the state, even Russia has, Ukraine for sure, has allocated money for these hospitals for these children. So they go into the hospitals, like with me, for weeks at a time. You can program somebody within hours, right? Less than that, but I mean, like good programming. So within weeks, they can do quite a bit to that child. And as I mentioned, the way they did with me, it was like science to them, right? Take the child, drag them into the tub, snakes, you choke, child goes out. That's one part. They'll start programming, even either showing you things in front of you, telling you what you are, giving a name to that part, and then they would do the training, which I'll get to in a second, but they would also give codes they would write codes. They would overlay, they would find out, test you. All of a sudden, I was going to a music school, very weird, strange music school at the same time as I was going to the hospital, 6 years old. They test you there. They find out what your spiritual abilities are that God has given you, and then they line them up with the evil spirits. And the evil spirits, they have been worshiping these evil entities' powers for centuries and giving them bloodshed. Exactly what's happening now in Ukraine and Russia, right? The bloodshed they're just giving away, to dedicating this bloodshed to the different powers. So they made a lot of treaties with the powers, and now they're saying, hey, look, I've got a soul part here, and the soul part has these great glory, energy from the Lord, glory, and spiritual gifts. Like, we want you to tap into it, on them, with them, work with them, like Athena, right? And one of my gifts, and then run with it. And then they will either create a clone, create an avatar body, do like what Jesse was explaining, where you can manifest, teach you how to manifest yourself in that other location in space, or under the ground, under the water, wherever, different realms, right? They teach you that, and so on. One of the trainings that I got, and this is how I'm going to get to the why they used me for training children psychologically for warfare. And the way they trained me in the hospital, one of the trainings was, you have this great hallway, doors open up here, and then doors on the other side. Nurse opens the door, there's a boy standing here and a boy standing on the other side. My job was to get from one end of the doors to the other end. The boy's job was to bully me, push me into the walls or on the floor, preventing me from getting to the other side. And every time I was to get up, I was to look into his eyes, directly into his eyes. That's all what was said to me. So the first time when I attempted to get to the other side of the hallway, I kept getting bullied around, pushed down, getting hurt badly. By the time I got to the other side, I was so angry that, you know, as nurse was writing down what, you know, whether I passed it or not, how well I did. When the boys were looking at her, I took both of their heads and smashed them together out of anger. I was so angry, like, how dare you bully me around? Well, the next time, so I didn't pass, I didn't do so well, but I was taught what to do. The next time when the nurse opened that door, it was a different boy. I looked straight into that boy's eyes, and the boy put his arms back and he just backed away right into the wall, away from me. So I told him with my eyes, with my mind, like, you're not gonna come anywhere near me. You're not gonna do what they're telling you to do. You're gonna do what I'm telling you to do, and you're gonna get away from me. So I was able to, they taught me enough, trained me enough to use my head and tell them, you ain't gonna do what they told you to do. And that's
Don't you think that a rebellious streak could be your natural? Don't you think that was your natural streak? I like to think that rebellious streak was you coming from you yourself and not their training.
They do look at you. I'm a Scorpio, right? They would look at that too. They would look at your bloodlines, what your parents did. I won't go there. I think my mom was used to. And so one of the other trainings was, and I think I mentioned this before, where they would lock us in lockers. We had partners, and we would have to tell them how to open, give them the code to open us. Another one was to move a balloon and a feather with their minds towards each other, passing to each other, the balloon. So they were just teaching us how to use our mind. And it's very helpful on many different things. So then I came up, I counted 21 different avatars, parts that they've created of me with various missions, various names that they had, because I would ask Jesus, like, hey, who is this? Like the one that I'll be talking about today, her name is just Officer 1. That's all what she needed to be, just Officer 1. The other ones, there are also 3 clones, and they had markings on the red, green, and blue. Some were vertical, some were horizontal.
Were they all in child form? Were they all still children, all your avatars? Did they all look identical?
The clones did. The clones were me in my early 20s. I was just in cages, hanging down in wet dungeon cages with businessmen standing around me. They were using me. Like that one was physical. Those clones were used somewhere in Russia, Moscow. I got Moscow, but could be anywhere because it was under the dungeon, in the dungeon. Those were physical. Then also the babies, the ovum that was taken from me, those were also physical. So at the end, remind me, Jesse uses the word clicking people out of these bases, out of these not platforms. Remember I mentioned to you, like they can create an area where they will put a mall in there, they will put a prison in there, let's say they'll put apartments there, a hospital on there, right? And they'll take different soul parts, different avatars, and they'll all have them working in the same level, the same space, the same realm, right? So that's what they do. But if and God can just melt them away when you ask them. He just takes you those parts into his hands, and then he takes the soul part and he adds it to me, or the essence. right, that they've taken from me when you're being tortured, right? When you go out, that soul part. And they actually, I've heard this from other survivors. These days, they actually have a machine to extract souls. That's beyond me. That's why I'm fascinated with everything.
If we're looking at the very intelligent, and that doesn't make them good, but the very intelligent, I don't know if they call them reptilian races. I don't even know what, but whoever governs what's happening here, I don't know what people call them. I'm sorry. It's very much AI inspired. I mean, yeah, exactly. But if you're looking at like, let's say Russia, right, with their AI and their absolute high level technology, you know, everything is coming from there, right? It's all AI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Right. And as I mentioned last time, Putin was against, according to this article, which you can read, he was more supportive of using the designer children, babies, versus the AI. Because through the designer child, they can control them more, and it's more humanity. It's more, I want to say you can control more of the demonic powers through them versus through AI, where the demonic spirit will have total full control of the AI robotic entity body, right? Versus where if you put it into a human or marry them up with a human, then I think you can tap into the human part, and that will be overlapping the evil spirits, if that makes sense. Just
Yeah,
you have more
totally.
control. And then at the same time, as I mentioned before, you can also, as you're designing that embryo, you can use DNA from Hitler, from Lenin, whoever you want, Stalin, and
The
implant
designer
that
babies,
DNA
right?
in there too, right?
Those
And
are
then they can pick and choose what reptilians, entities, the grays they want in there, draconians, you know, they can also attach that. I did hear one story, two survivors who had a bunch of everybody in them.
Yeah,
And the embryo was
I've
created.
definitely. Yeah, we've certainly, and I think I might have mentioned it on one of the last shows we spoke. There's a South African girl raised in South Africa. We call her Al. She's one of these, and we've done 2 interviews with her, but we've had to distort her voice quite a bit. Her and Amanda Bass, and she's one of these. And I mean, she talks about she's directly connected to the royal family, but like directly in terms of DNA and splicing, and definitely one of these that has certainly had her fair share of horrors in those experiences. But I think they call it the splicing. I think it's the same as what you're saying, the designer babies, and that's exactly what Jesse was saying on our last show, when they'll take the DNA or whoever they want. But my question was then, okay, so if these high level demonics or artificial intelligence, whatever they are now ordering, they want a body that's going to match that spirit. Are these spirits dictating whose DNA they want? That's what I'm saying. You know, if we look at it like that, it's like there's like 20 demonics that now want to come and have happy days on earth. Okay, create me a body, human. I want that DNA, that DNA, that DNA, that DNA. Put it in the petri dish and see how it grows. And I'm coming in there when it's ready. So is that what actually happens? Because that is super, super freaky. I think it's very possible if we're looking at the way things are, right? But it's freaky. Oh my goodness.
I believe so, because as I mentioned, one of the other shows, the Area 51 show on your Solution channel, I was doing, one of my scientist avatars was doing kind of that, where they were taking the DNA from different animals, right, and their spirits or their frequencies and what they were made to do, like roar, bite, whatever, fly, crawl. And then I was creating a specific creature, and then the soldier's conscience would go into that creature with all of these other things from the animals, right? And then you you use that animal, that creature that me and my team created, but it was the sign, I mean, the soldier's conscience that was
in there driving it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
So what you're saying is that the soldier, whoever he is, call him John, John could now remote or teleport, I don't know, what do you call that, out of his body and into the creature's body?
Yeah,
what do you
and
call
it was,
that?
I don't know, can't think of the word now, but it was a fairly close proximity. It was one room, large room with the next one, more like a hangar, large. And he was the soldiers that I've seen, 5 of them, that were sitting in those dentist-looking chairs with a bunch of probes connected to them. So they actually were connected in some ways through the frequencies that they were put right here, which was used on one of my, well, several of my other avatars. It's
Wow.
What I'm saying is it can be done. It is done, period.
No, I truly believe that. I truly believe that, you know, and especially when we are realizing more and more that these guys have been in control or on this planet for a hell of a lot longer than what we've ever been given information on. It's only in recent years that people like yourself, Jesse, etc., are coming out. And I mean, we also, when I'm watching these military videos from these guys, I don't know if they're whistleblowers, but they talking about their experiences in the military that no one even knows about, which is all about these creatures of the night that you're seeing, Area 51, Nephilim giants, all these things, because that's what these guys are doing. And in order for them to achieve that and to be able to move in and out through the different portals and underground cities or whatever it is, they have to have special training, and their human gifts would have needed to be enhanced, like their spiritual gifts, right? Because it's all part of the weaponizing. So those kids' gifts are highly advanced, or enhanced. I mean, they would have had gifts to begin with, because a lot of them, as you say, are these designer babies that we put that together, and the probability is that. So let's make sure. And I'm sure they must kill a lot of kids in the process of their crazy experiments, blow kids up. I mean, who knows what they're capable of, you know, when they're trying to do this crazy stuff.
That's what I saw. The Area 51 lab that I had was stinky. It was loud and it was stinky, and they were just not quite pits, okay, just locations where we would dump the bodies of just the creatures that didn't work, you know, because a lot of it is just testing. But the smell and the vicious sounds, you can't have a normal human being working in a place like that. You just can't. It's inhumane. It's not possible. That's why they use people, not people.
I actually wanted to say to you earlier on, and I'm glad you brought that up again, because when you're saying, you know, they'll take the kids, put them in the pits, get the snakes, do this, you know, it's almost like it's robotic the way they do it. How does a person with compassion, right, even begin to do that to a child? So what I'm thinking already, and what I wanted to ask you earlier on, is that these people working in these laboratories, doing these experiments on the children, these are not humans. These must be some kind of AI bots already, or some kind of a lizard being with its clicky eyes that actually feels nothing, and that, you know, just does because it hates human beings. I mean, it's like, if we look again at that, and we look at our slaughterhouses, and again, I know I'm never popular for this, but we have to draw the parallel. Because if you think about how animals are slaughtered, their babies are taken, and it's robotic the way it's done. I don't think anyone doing that to a sentient being can feel good about themselves at the end of the day. They have to numb up. They have to, right? It's your protection as a human. And now when you're looking at these creatures doing that to kids, I don't think they're humans. I don't.
Yeah, right. In Revelation, the scripture talks about, you know, they will have the stone heart, and they will continue having the stone heart. And that's just that. And I believe personally, the various places, seals, right? bowls, judgment bowls. It says a third of the population died, 2/3 of the population died, or a quarter, whatever. I think God will be getting rid of those entities that are not fully human. I think they will be going first. But I think like true humans, full humans, are going to be saved and preserved in one
Yes,
way or
I
another
agree.
during this tribulation. He's just cleansing, and he's given the human beings, full human beings, more chances to come to him by watching, observing what is going on with the other people.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just
Exactly. It's so true. And it's
merciful.
true
He's
what
so
you said,
merciful.
because yeah, it just seems like, I mean, I've heard them being termed as unclean spirits, these demonics. I don't know if that's the same thing. So it's like, really, they just need to go back to God, and God needs to give them a good hose down. Like, like you washing the walls. Okay, come now, sort yourself out, you nonsense.
Yeah, that's actually how I got to part of the cleansing process was the word unclean. Bible talks and makes a difference between righteous, holy, and clean. I'm like, okay, I'm living my life righteously, so I'm trying to be holy according to the Bible. Like, what in the heck does cleanliness mean? Because churches weren't talking about it. Like, but at the same time, Jesus, every time he expelled a spirit, unclean spirit from somebody, he used the word unclean. So what he's saying is be clean. It's not righteous, not holy, but be clean. It's the unclean spirits. Make sure that the unclean spirits are not hanging around you or potentially in you.
Let's think about that. That seems to me like it's a parasite, right? Because
Yes.
any parasite is going to suck onto something. And I believe, it's like when you're giving someone something. Let's say someone comes to you and they've lost their job and they need a bit of money or food or something. You can absolutely assist that person, and that person will give, even if all they give you is their gratitude, that's enough. And you know when someone's grateful. But if it continues every day and you just know that nothing is going on, right, that person's energy becomes parasitic. So it's the same thing when we have these, what I'm just thinking now, these unclean spirits that hang on and suck on to something or someone, because that's all they can do. It's all they know. It's like a tick or a flea, right? So until that person, or until that energy, or until that parasite realizes that they actually have to help themselves along in life, you actually have to do things to get yourself productive, in order to get yourself mobile, and in order to get yourself moving into a new direction, right? So as long as that person has the will, there's a way. But there are those that definitely don't have the will, and that's what they do. It's like I was saying, I think it's like telling a lion not to hunt. You can't tell that parasitic energy to stop doing that, because it's like telling a lion it doesn't know another way, right? So it really is up to, like, we've got to learn how to keep ourselves in God's light by having good actions, good thoughts, good deeds, because that keeps us in love. And when you don't do that, you go into that dark place. And the only way that we can change that is really by cleaning up our act, moving in a direction that we can actually be productive, rather than be a parasite to society or your family or your spouse or whatever, right? And it doesn't mean if you're asking for help or whatever that you're a parasite, right? It's the energy with which you're doing it and the intention that makes the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, ready to dive in?
I think, Lira, if you don't mind, we're just going to stop for an ad break here quickly before we carry on. So I'm just going to ask Morné if you'll put the ad on for us. Thank you.
John White, the founder of Spooky 2, has been seeking solutions to serious diseases since 2008, working on energy and scalar wave resonance. biofeedback, and PEMF therapy.
Our products serve as the spark to ignite the fire of compassion. An increasing number of customers are becoming beacons and advocates of love and healing. The fire has become a furnace as we continue our contributions to humanity.
Thanks to the collective support of our customers, Spooky 2 has created a charitable platform for every sale. $3 is donated on behalf of the customer. Time flies, but our original goals remain unchanged. Today, we want to share a healing story from Danielle.
Hi there, this is Danielle from my kitchen in Amsterdam, Holland. I have Lyme disease and I'm treating it several ways with essential oils and supplements. That's just a little bit of what I have. I've been having this for quite some time, and I started using the Spooky 2 with Generator X at a friend's house, and I really feel the benefits. If we do a scan and then treat it with the additional program that the machine generates, I seriously feel better. Blood flow in my head feels better and I can concentrate better. And I'm really thankful that these machines exist. And I just ordered a plasma ball to make the frequency stronger. And I hope to be feeling much better after that. Thank you so much for making these machines and making all of these frequencies available for everybody.
The world is bound together with love. Spooky 2 will continue to spread love wherever we go.
Over to you, Lira, you were saying.
Okay. I'm going to try to, we're going to talk about how one of my avatars was training the children for psychological operations before they even touch any weapons, before they get trained on the weapons. And this is a place where it's created. If you can think of the Hunger Games, I'm sure majority of you have seen Hunger Games. How they create the woods for them. They create the water, they create the creatures in there, right? But to them, it's very, very real. They go back and forth. So same here, you can manifest yourself spiritually. You can feel the emotions there, the energy, other people's energies, but the physical world cannot see you. So you can do whatever you want there. Okay. So the way it started was, first half was a dream, and then when I woke up, I'm like, what the heck is going on, Lord Jesus? You've got to show me. So then I waited on the Lord to see the rest of it. And I'm going to try to tell it to you in details, because I know for me, details from other survivors is what triggered me on some of my other missions and my other avatars. It was the little details, like one of them was, the gentleman was mentioning the orange poles, the mezzanine on the UFO ship, the check-in desk to the right. And I'm like, that's exactly what I saw. And that's exactly what I remember. Right. And on the table with the lights. But it was that orange color in the mezzanine floor that did it for me. It triggered me. Like, I've been there. So this is in my dream, I am awakened on a bus, public bus. And I just got into Moscow. And as soon as I get off the bus, there's a young tour guide, and he's taking me from the bus into a busy train station, and then he disappears. And the train station, that's pretty much when I enter the space, just like in Hunger Games, you're in it now. Very, very busy, beautiful, huge train station. And it was so busy, you're walking like this, side. There's no room to even walk. And I'm at a loss. I don't know where to go. But apparently, however I was marked, people who saw me, they would point with their eyes or they would turn their head. They weren't like pointing me because they were trying to keep it kind of on the low side, like that way, you're going this way, you're going down. So I just looked for people's cues how to go down. lots of trains, huge ceilings, many various different stairwells, staircases going everywhere. And people were dressed in various time periods, if that, not all the way back to 1800s, but from the 1900s and so on. People just different, like this person was from this period time frame, and that one was from a different, more futuristic attire. Some of them were uniforms, some of them were like daily clothing, like that. So I kept going downstairs and then down another set of stairs until I showed up in this huge shopping mall. And it was, again, you could not tell what the time period was. It was a bit like Victorian style with a lot of ironwork, wrought iron. There were stores. You would think there were stores, but they were actually training facilities or what different officers were. This place, this shopping mall, was specifically for training. There was a set of balconies up on top, again, with shops or training facilities, and then a huge glass dome where it looked like it was sky, but it was just light. Huge glass dome, and again, all that wrought iron scroll work, balconies. And as soon as I walked in, the first thing that I noticed were the acrobats. They're training, they're swinging from the balconies, from the ceiling, from one balcony all the way across the shopping mall to the next balcony, just many of them. And that, I remembered, the one memory that I have, or experience that I have, was when I was 6 years old and I walked into that very luxurious hotel in Russia, plush, and I go and I shoot the man, the fat man right here, 6 years old, and a guy, my handler, comes in, grabs me, we run off. But the acrobats from the second level of the balconies in that lobby, they all come down and they all start shooting, because every important person has their bodyguards. So it was just a bloodshed after I shot that one man. So the acrobats come down and they do their cleaning, their killing, all of that. So I'm like, okay, well, that's where the acrobats train. I'm like, that's cool. And then I was pointed, somebody else dragged me in and told me to sit down on the floor. And the floor was, it was carpet, greenish carpet with some pinkish yellowish design here and there. So the three of us sit down on the floor, and in front of us, there's a lab technician in a white lab coat with a clipboard. And he just writes something down. And then somebody behind me shows up, another lab technician with like, it's like a frequency reader, like a thermometer reader. It puts out energies, frequencies, lasers. And he put that in front over my head, and I immediately knew what it was. So I put my hand over my head. He puts the frequencies over it, and my hand just bubbles up immediately, like a third burn, the next day. Just big old bubble. So basically what that thing did was it puts you into the zone that you're supposed to be in. Whoever you're supposed to be programmed to be, like for me, it was going to be Officer 1. So that's what did, and then you're going to forget everything. So I knew about the forgetting part and in my dream, and I did not want to forget. That's why I tried protecting my brain with my hand. But anyhow, when the hand turned into a bubble, somebody else came up and they put ointment on it, and immediately it was perfect. It was fine. And that's when I woke up. That was crazy, real. My hand, like, just real. So that's when I started, weird stuff, asking the Lord, what was it? What am I doing there? And as soon as I started waiting on the Lord, the three of us, the group that was on the floor, we were led down by more stairwells, narrow corridors. Then it was more like catacombs under the ground. And then it was a cavern or caverns where they opened up to the Moscow River. Now, wet walls, very wet floor. The floor had blood here and there, guts here and there. It was nasty, absolutely nasty, slippery. Just the last place you want to be at, stinky, slippery, nasty looking. And it was dusk, towards morning time, and you can walk out into the water, the river, and I'm seeing a boatload of children that were brought in, and the children were 12, 11 and under, about, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 of them, boys and girls. And so in the cavern, I'm here, and then the other 2 officers are farther down those caverns. And I was told, by the way, I look like a soldier, and I wear heavy boots. And I'm walking with my arms back, crossed back, just telling the children to get down on the floor. And my job was to teach them how to get into those frequencies that Jesse was talking about. They were supposed to tell the killer, whoever is in front of them wanting to kill them, that no, I'm already dead. You don't need to bother with me. So they had to tap into their mind, or get their mindset, their frequency energies all the way up to that level that Jesse was talking about. There's that resting place with the Lord, right? It's up here, and then there's another one here.
0 point energy field. Yeah, the 0
Yes.
point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard because if they're showing any kind of fear, right, they are still going like this. They're the waves. Yeah. I'm feeling them. I'm feeling them, and I'm like, okay, you're here on the fear level, or here you're at a loss. You don't know what to do, right? So what I was doing was I was kicking them in the head, on the spine with those heavy boots until they got it. Like, I am truly dead. But that takes a lot of mind control, and they have to do it. And then when they were able to get themselves to hey, I am nothing, disconnect themselves from this spiritual body, right? It's physical body, spiritual body, avatar. Once they disconnected and they got their brain, that soul part, all the way with the Lord, or here where they were dead, then they could move on to the next level. And the next level was to teach them how to tell the killer that, no, who you want is way out there. It's not in front of you. I'm dead. You need to turn over there. You need to go that way. You were dictating to them, like, no, there. So and that was
controlling them. You're able to obviously have telepathy with them, stronger than what they've been controlled or trained to do, right?
Yes, correct. And again, I would hit them with my boot until they got it, because it was death or life for them. And we would not be able to use those children if they did not, commit to that's the wrong word, excel in this. If they did not get this thing down, then they were dead. So they had to get, this was 101 training for them. And then we would test them. So then the big old guy who looked like he wants to harm you comes out with all of his weapons, heavy and big. And now they need to do the same thing to him, convince him. And of course, he's got the same kind of training. He can read their energies also, frequencies. So now they have to, because he's fearsome looking, now the training is on a different level. Right? I'm a woman. The man looks at a different level of training. So now they're doing the same thing. Now, once they have passed that and he actually walks away, believing that, now I've got nothing here, that's when they can move on to the next station with Officer 2. And Officer 2, that's where he would introduce them to the various weapons that were available to them, one, or preferably, what can they take off of their opponent, the killer, right? Off of their body, how they can, the shoelace, what do they have on them? Razor blade, and then which way, the nostril, the eye, which ear, where can they get them? Cut under the knee, and so on. That's what he was teaching them, introducing them to the various weapons, and then how to hold them. What, especially against somebody who's bigger than them. Once they've mastered that, they go to the Officer 3, farther down, and that is where it's hands-on for them. What I saw was a man in his 30s who was brought out, huge, and I'll talk to him in a second, about him in a second. There was a lady under 20, and there was another young guy also under 20. And they were supposed to be dying, tortured, So the children got to do that firsthand on them, you know, how to take the guts out, the eyes out, the ears, whatever, sewing, whatever it is that they need to do. That's where they got to do that in that third place, because they need to experience it all. If they're going to be an effective soldier, they have to go through those steps.
Assassin. Fundamentally an assassin, right? Because the kids are being trained to be assassins. That's what the avatars are doing. They're assassins. Wow.
And it's someone that you cannot expect coming. It's like innocent looking child.
It's exactly, you know, it's so funny. I interviewed FIONA BARNETT maybe a year and a half ago. And guys, if you haven't seen my interview with FIONA BARNETT, and I'm going to ask Morné if you can maybe put it up in the comments section. Now, for those of you who don't know who FIONA BARNETT is, she was, in fact, many years ago, I read an article by her. She was the first person that I read anything on that made me aware of the horrors of this child hunting and stuff like that. I read stuff with her. She's Australia. She's Australia's kind of queen whistleblower, if you want to call it that. I think she's to Australia what Jesse's to America. And she was trained by Kidman, Nicole Kidman's dad, Anthony Kidman. Nicole Kidman trained with her, etc., etc. And she was also, they have there the Jasons and the Alices. And she was probably one of the most highly trained Alice, if not the most highly trained Alice. And it's exactly what you're talking about. And she says, who suspects a pretty little blonde girl of doing anything, right? So you send this pretty little blonde kid, and the next minute she pulls out a gun. And FIONA, what you're talking about now, FIONA herself has been involved in. So I'm going to quantify and qualify what you're saying. And it's by chance that I came across that video again this week, because some of the viewers have been watching it and they commented on it again. And I just happened to watch some of it again. And it was during exactly what you're saying, So I want to say to you guys, if you haven't watched FIONA BARNETT's interview, and it was the last interview she's done, by the way. She hasn't and will not do any more interviews. And before that, she didn't do for a very long time. And she agreed to do one on our channel. And she has not done any interviews since then. Powerful interview. So I want to say, if you guys haven't watched FIONA, please do. She's adorable. I love her. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, she just says it the way it is, boy.
She triggered me.
I adore her. Yeah, sorry.
She triggered me. The first time when I thought I was going to watch it all the way, I couldn't. I got so angry. This was right when you put it out, before I got to know all this about myself. When I heard her say that they're using children, I got so angry, turned the phone off, walked away. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And it was many weeks before I was able to get back, and it's like, okay, let's deal with this. If it's bothering you, that must be there's something you're attached to this. She helped me.
Absolutely.
Your interview with her helped me. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's one very, very special lady. That one, that's for sure. Gosh,
she's a firecracker.
Total firecracker. She's spicy as they come, just the way I like it. There's no airs and graces. When I have conversations with her, you know, it's just like, you just know you're getting the real deal. There's no issue with FIONA. It just is what it is. I love it.
Thank you, FIONA. If you're watching, thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow, that's quite incredible.
Yeah, so it keeps going. So after that, we have to train the children how to put up with pain, right? How to put up with torture, because they'll probably face that too. So then there's another room, again, it's a cavern, and they are put in front of the wall with a huge screen. And they're taped to the chair with their arms down, and of course their body is taped, but their head is all fine. And they're given a shot here to mess with their heads, So now when they're watching the screen, they think it is them. So if it's a boy who's watching, looking at the screen, they're torturing a boy on that screen. And I mean, like ripping things out of him, torture completely. And
Are these real kids that they use? I mean, these torture that, I mean, they're making so many avatars and AIs, and these people that these kids are taking out, are these real humans or are they other avatars?
I don't know. I don't want to go there because the 5 children that I know from my ovums that they took, that I saw in the spirit, 3 boys, 2 girls, they could have been my children. I mean, nobody knows about them. I don't know. I'm 90% sure that this was done in the spiritual realm. So I want to assume that they are the same way, children who they've taught them how to manifest themselves into this spiritual realm. But because later on they can take that trained spiritual child who's been trained in this manifested spiritual world, they can create an avatar body for them, right? Whatever body they need to be, male, female, 40 years old, 10 years old, 60 years old, doesn't matter. But the soul, the conscious that's in that avatar has been trained well. So now whatever they created, like they put it together and voila, they got something functional, very functional. So as they're watching these, they think they're the ones who are being tortured because of the drug that was given to them. And my job standing next to them was to kind of let go of some of my energies and then help them lift their energies, their frequencies up to where they can be in that rest place that Jesse was talking about, and not be going like this, not be thinking like, no, this is me, it's affecting me, but no, like, hey, you can go up here, stand up, get out of your body, you know, and hover over your body and not be affected by this pain. So that was another crucial training part to the training. And that was another thing that I did. And like Lord, that's a lot, Jesus. That's just brutal. And then I'm seeing a little girl sitting in the chair. Oh, so I do see a little girl sitting on a chair, 6 years old, pixie tails, and she's looking at somebody. And what she's looking at is one of the bodies that was tortured, that 30, 40-year-old man, big man, who the children helped torture, not torture, but rip apart. Romantic, Chantelle.
Everybody. I got a flickering candle. No, there's nothing dodgy going on at my house tonight. I need a candle. It's load shedding. And this one's flicking very loudly tonight. It's flicking very high. So
you need a glass of wine.
Yeah. Exactly.
It is what it is. Yeah. We've been having lots of power outages here too on the East Coast. So anyhow, in front of me, in front of this girl, who I found out that it was me. I kept looking like, God, let me get closer and closer to this girl. I'm like, holy moly, that is me. So now I've got the same caverns. Now there's me in my 20s, 30s, and then there's the young me, 6 years old. So they kept that other one, avatar, that age, young ones. And I'm sitting across the body that was already torn apart. And it's that man, he's hanging on the 2 hook meats behind his scapulas. His left shoulder has been dislocated, torn out, and the skin has been cut around it, just where it's just hanging on the one piece of skin. And again, this is what they were teaching the children to do, right? His left eye was poked out completely, and then he had his guts, his stomach was cut open, and the guts, intestines were just on the ground as he's hanging there, but he's still alive. And I am sitting there and I'm seeing same thing, my energies, I'm putting out, taking my energies, frequencies up from the Lord, glory, that peace, and I'm taking it through me and I'm sending it out to him, and then his pain is coming out and going back into me. I undo them and give him peace. So he's actually hanging there in this state, horrific state, but he has total and utter peace, and he has clarity, like as if nothing happened to him physically. So they're using me to keep somebody alive, calm, and fully functioning just by the energies from the Lord, the frequencies that I'm able to take in and take out. And that told me, that reminded me, quite often I will feel, when I'm praying, I will feel someone's pain. I don't know where it is, migraine, vertigo, you know, breast pain, somewhere else, before people even ask me for a prayer or what's wrong with them, before they tell me. And then God reveals me, you know, who it is. And I have to, I take them to one of the healing rooms in heaven, and I pray, I leave them there, pray wholeheartedly until I feel the pain getting out of me physically. And then I know that that person is better. So I do have this God-given gift, but they have turned it around.
Yeah, sentience, absolutely, and weaponized that. And that's obviously the gift of sentience, to feel and to be, you know, they have the gift of feeling and taking on the pain. And then obviously being able to either, well, the gift is to let that go, right? As that's the real gift, because a lot of sentient being will take on the pain of another, but they don't know how to let it go. So, yeah.
Oh, right. I know what you're talking about. I do, but this is slightly different. This is, it's a transferring energy. It's like I saw a golden ring oval that was going from me to him. I'm taking out his pain, and I'm almost like cleansing it, you know, and I'm refilling him with that energy, that positive energy. Yep. I was just
an alchemist. That's the alchemy. That's the spiritual alchemy, where you're able to take that and then transmute it back into creative life force, or gold, so to speak. The lead becomes gold. And true alchemy is spiritual alchemy. So when I tell people I'm an alchemist, no, I don't sit with my little tripod and things. It's spiritual alchemy. It's alchemy of the soul. Energy can never be created or destroyed, only ever transferred or transformed. So this is the application. So that's the alchemy right there. Wow. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I never heard that term. Learning.
You see? Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And I thought it was just something awesome, crazy. On one hand, I thought it was cool. On the other hand, like, you guys are brutal. How can you use a little child like that and have them feel all that pain that he is feeling, but you want to keep him alive, whether you wanted information or get the dirt on him or turn it around, whatever. Like, you're using me. I was so angry, so upset. I'm like, okay, Jesus, what are we going to do about these two avatars? Like, I don't like either one of them. There's no way I'm going to be sitting as a little girl, and there's no way I'm going to be hitting those children like that on their heads, their spines, you know, in order to get them, for them to get all this straight, all this psychological warfare. And so he asks me, Jesus asks me, like, well, do you want to stay behind? Because if you stay behind, what you can do is, when you're taking those children as they're laying there on the ground pretending to be dead, you can take them to the higher realms, to heaven, and tell them about God's love, God's peace, God's rest, and where to find that true joy, even though they're in the midst of a horrific situation. I'm like,
the resting place.
Yeah, I'm like, that makes sense. I can be a healer, but pretending to be somebody mean. You know, I can hit them, but not as hard as I did before.
You're a spy, baby. You're a spy for God.
Yes. Right. I'm like, but okay, that makes sense. So I agreed to that. And then he did the same thing with me as a 6-year-old. He asked the same thing. He's like, well, while the person is suffering, being tortured physically, you can tell them about, you're almost there. You're almost in heaven with me. Like, hang on in there just for a few more minutes, or whatever, hours, days, you know, but I'm going to keep you alive. And then I'm going to you're going to go to heaven. You're going to accept Jesus, and you're going to get to heaven. I'm like, well, Jesus, that also makes sense. I'll stay.
Yeah.
I've never, all of the, actually, can I give a little warning to people who are doing the healing?
Yeah.
It's not, let me back up a little bit. Jessie was talking about clicking people out of these realms. So, because as you know, everything's connected, the souls, the energies, so we can feel each other's emotions, right? In that place, on that whatever realm that they've created for us. So if I am clicked out of them, if out of that spot, if I ask Jesus, hey, take that soul part that's in this avatar, take it to heaven, cleanse it, bring it back to me. The people around me, souls around me, are going to know it. They're going to feel it. They're going to feel that my energy went up. I'm healed. Like something, hey, happened in the spiritual realm. They're going to feel it. They're going to be stirred also. It's in your interest, or
Absolutely.
you want to do that. You can also ask Jesus, and I've done that on a few of the avatars, where like all those souls, can you take them out of there, cleanse them, and put them back into wherever they are in the world, in the country.
Absolutely.
I've also seen that done, and I've heard other people do the same thing.
I fully agree with that. Totally. It's alchemy. And that's really like when, you as an individual that's doing that needs to be of a certain frequency so that you can assist that. Your energy has to be able to transmute that pain or suffering, whatever it is, in order for them to get to that place of being at ease or at peace.
Yeah. Like, I didn't know what I was doing at that time. I strictly realized I'm the Lord. Like, Jesus, you're going to do it. I've got nothing here. I would pray in the spirit, and I would rely on the Holy Spirit, Jesus, to do it, because like, I want freedom, and I'm assuming that those other souls want freedom too. And I would do that.
Exactly.
But there were other parts, like I had 3 parts in Kremlin, Moscow. There was Olga, there was Polina, and then there was Yuri. Yuri was a male, a big old bodyguard with a jolly spirit, but he looked ferocious the way they created him. Polina was the one who killed that scientist who created the lab for the designer's children. And then Olga White was the one who whenever presidents are signing a deal, she would present that book after the cameras are all done, after they shook their hands. She would present the book to them, the document to sign, but instead of them signing it, she would have her bodyguards kill them. But because she was so stunningly beautiful, the president, and quite often they're clones, by the way, they couldn't pick up like, hey, what's happening, because they were just staring at me, and they never got a chance to sign the document. So the deal that Russia or Ukraine made with them never came to fruition. So they don't have anything on hand, documented that this deal ever went through. They have it on cameras, but documents are not there. And of course, it goes to both countries, right? This document, but it just doesn't happen. So the way when I asked God to take those parts out, he did. We gave him the bread of life. We gave them the living water. We testified to them. Jesus loves you. Like, do you still want to be here or no? And God either like took them up like this, or held in their hands, in his hands, and then melted away, including the other one that I had, like Delilah Diana, who was bringing men into the evil men, that they wanted them out. She would seduce them, take them to bed, and then the other men would come and get them, extract them. And then there was another male part to me that was, his name was Michael, and he did the same thing with the females, where he would bring like 3 girls, wine and dine them at a time, and they would use those girls for to have babies, and seduce and all of that stuff. And those parts, Jesus just took them and he melted them up. But then the other parts,
very possible, very, 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 very possible. I the minute you I think prayer, yeah, and also believe, right, and are willing to receive the redemption, if that's the word, and just to let God take it back and dissolve it back in. Yeah. Wow.
Yep. Bring the soul parts to me, but some of them are human parts. So if it was a designer baby where they took or some of the avatars that are more real, where they took your DNA, your blood, and they created somebody who has more humanity in him, in them, in her, and some of your ovum DNA, then God doesn't kill them. He doesn't take them out like the clones. He didn't kill them. They're still out functioning.
Yeah.
So I asked the Lord to attach legions of angels to help them out, to protect them, to minister to them. And so, and then here with these two parts, I agreed with the Lord to stay behind and witness to them, to the others. So you all survivors who are going on this journey and are finding out what your parts are, ask the Lord, what exactly do you want to do with your parts? And then also the locations, like some of the locations I saw God just put it on fire in flames. Another one, he flooded it with water. There was a lot of equipment there. Another part, he washed it away with his blood, which also then turned into fire. Also ask the Lord, what do you want? How do you want to handle that lab, that place that you are in? He does it, like the UFO, right? That I was, where they did things to me. I asked the Lord, it's like, done. I don't want anybody, whoever went through this UFO, to be program used like that again. And what I saw was angels picking it up with netting, and they took it. It was right under Jesus's kingdom, right under there. Like the Bible says that everything will be under his feet, only then he'll come. So under his feet, kind of, it was a junkyard. And in that junkyard, and I know Danielle developed a lot of this, like there was a great deal of UFOs. And so when the angels brought this UFO that I was on and they dropped it into that junkyard, well, smushed up, a lot of souls were released from that UFO. I was shocked. My jaw was dropped. I couldn't believe how many souls they had there. It was crazy.
Yeah,
and then the souls,
That's obviously where they've been holding them captive, or whatever you call it. I mean, they've got their own words for these things. But, you know, obviously then with all the souls that they've been buying, that's probably where they've been holding them until they need them. Wow.
Some, because I've seen souls that Jesus and his army, Holy Spirit, got rid of. I helped them, that were kept in the Black Sea. There are 2 basins in the Black Sea. Scientists found this out. Under one basin in the Black Sea, if you're looking at the map, the left side towards Bulgaria and Ukraine, that side had the Leviathan underneath. And then all the souls in cages, like hundreds and hundreds, thousands of cages with souls were there. And then on the other side, it was the Neptune, and there were souls there. So Jesus released some of those souls, not some of them. Those souls were released, and I saw children running around after that. And I saw very, very old souls that were there too, ancient souls. It was cool. It was amazing. And then the other place where they kept souls, also at the beds of the river, on the, below floor of the river, it was in the Moscow River by Kremlin. And we released Jesus, and I released those souls too. And it was my Laura fish avatar, or mermaid avatar, that went in there.
Wow.
I asked the Lord how you want to go about it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I think for each one it's different, right?
Yes.
For each person it's going to be unique and very different, especially if people are being triggered and starting to getting back memories after hearing programs like this. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So I just wanted to remind people the importance of your mindset, because Bible says in 2 Corinthians to bring everything, bring your emotions, bring your imaginations, your thoughts to captivity in front of Jesus, right? To the obedience of Christ. Control it, and then take that salvation helmet, put that on. Know that you are saved by God. Know that he's there for you, that what he did on the cross for you. You have that safety. Know it. It's all right here. And then it's all right here, believe. So step into it.
Absolutely.
There was one vision that, one of the visions that he gave me was I was in great physical pain. I got alpha-gal from the tick. You can't eat meat. So anyhow, sitting there at great pain, and one of the young guys who was talking in the prayer meeting, he said every time he would mention the word, "We are seated in heavenly places," my pain would go away. Then he'd talk, mention it again, then my pain would go away again. Seated in heavenly places, and then I get the vision. I'm in heaven, sitting with Jesus on his throne to the left of him. And he's like, "Do you want to see something?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to see something. I'm already up here with you. I want to see more." And of course, there's the angels, the witnesses, the creatures behind, the singing, the glorious light. Beautiful. And then he opens the floor, and you can see all the way down to the pits. You can see into hell. And there are demons standing with their spears, and they're trying to throw them at me. But he's saying, "Look, if you're seated all the way up here, and for us right now, it's up here in our head. If we're imagining ourselves sitting up there, accepting that we are seated up there, I want to say physically and spiritually, they cannot throw those spears at us. They cannot reach us.
Because your vibration is too high and your vibration is
Yep.
too light. So it's
Yep.
completely, it's true. Your mindset and your emotions are the fuel for your existence.
And I know
Anyway.
some people ask whether the demons or the angels can read our minds. Like, that's the wrong question to ask. It's more like, if you are depressed, if you're in fear, the demons over here they're like, "Oh, hey, you're running on my frequency. I like your house. I think I'm gonna stick around you."
Yeah, exactly. When you match,
So they're not reading your mind exactly, but they are reading your frequencies. Be careful.
Totally. Law of correspondence. You're always going to attract with that which matches you.
Yep. And then the other thing that he showed me was
your energy. Yeah.
Yep. The other thing that he showed me was a person on the left side of him were the demons, and they were running towards you. Whatever you were thinking, right? Hey, I'm depressed. Like, "Oh, no, this is my space. Let me talk into his ear, get him down some more." Just a bunch of them. And then on the right side, there were God's angels, and they were just standing back with their arms crossed, just waiting to get an assignment from you. So whatever you said with your mouth would depend on what set of angels you're going to get, the heavenly angels or the demonic angels to mess with you. Be very, very careful and thoughtful, mindful what you say. It's crucial.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everybody. Lira, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to catch up with you again. And I know we won't be having you as a regular monthly anymore, but hopefully we'll see you sometime in the future again. And I want to just say thank you so much to all our amazing guests who've watched and followed and enjoyed the show with us this evening or this morning, wherever in the world you are. And have a fantastic weekend. God bless you all. I'm in for lots more cold and rain this weekend. Just telling you, just saying. So thank you. I know you guys are getting it hot as hell. We getting as cold as hell. We getting Hades, ice hell, I think, and you getting fire hell for the heat. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, persevere we shall. God bless you all, everybody. We will see you very soon, and it's always a pleasure to join for you guys to join me on a Friday evening with awesome guests. Take good care. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you soon.